Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone disrespected you in front of others? Maybe it was a sarcastic comment during a meeting or an awkward joke made at your expense in a social gathering. In those moments, you might have felt a mix of anger, embarrassment, or even self-doubt, wondering, how should I respond? It's not just about saving face, it's about handling the situation in a way that earns respect, both from the person who disrespected you and everyone who witnessed it. The truth is, respect isn't something you can demand. It's something you earn through your actions, your attitude, and how you carry yourself, even in uncomfortable situations. In this video, we're going to explore powerful strategies that can help you command respect instantly. These are techniques inspired by timeless wisdom and proven psychological principles, designed to help you stay calm, confident, and in control no matter what life throws at you. It's not always about you. Often, people who disrespect others are trying to make themselves look better. They believe that by putting someone else down, they can elevate their own status. This can happen anywhere, at work, in social settings, even within families. Understanding this behavior is the first step in dealing with it effectively. When you know it's not personal, it becomes easier to respond without letting your emotions take over. One of the most important principles we'll explore today is that respect begins with how you present yourself. Imagine walking into a room full of people. Without saying a word, your posture, your expression, and even the way you move can communicate confidence, or a lack of it. People form impressions in seconds, and those impressions often determine how they treat you. This brings us to the first key strategy: mastering first impressions. Think about this scenario. You're at a networking event and someone approaches you for the first time. As they extend their hand, you stay seated, barely making eye contact as you shake their hand. What message does this send? Whether intentional or not, it communicates a lack of interest, confidence, or respect for the other person. Now imagine the same situation, but this time you stand up, look them in the eye, and greet them with a firm handshake. The difference is striking. By standing up, you're showing that you value the interaction, and you're projecting confidence and self-assurance. Small actions like this might seem insignificant, but they have a big impact. When you rise to greet someone, you're not just being polite. You're asserting your presence and showing that you take yourself and the other person seriously. This simple gesture aligns with a key principle of Stoic philosophy: focus on what you can control. You can't control how others perceive you entirely, but you can control how you present yourself. I remember attending a professional seminar where networking was a key focus. Among the attendees, one individual stood out. Whether he was greeting a senior executive or thanking the server refilling his coffee, he always stood up, made eye contact, and engaged fully. It wasn't flashy or overdone, but it left a lasting impression. People respected him because of the way he carried himself. In contrast, there was another attendee who remained seated during every interaction. He didn't mean to come across as disinterested. It was just a habit, but it created an unspoken barrier. People took him less seriously, even though he was just as capable as anyone else in the room. This highlights an important truth. First impressions are not just about appearances, they're about showcasing your values. When you present yourself with confidence and respect for others, you naturally command respect in return. The way you carry yourself speaks volumes about your self-worth. It's not about being loud or flashy, it's about being intentional in your actions. So, how can you apply this in your everyday life? Start small. Whether you're meeting someone at work, catching up with a friend at a cafe, or even joining a virtual meeting, pay attention to how you present yourself. Stand up when greeting someone, maintain eye contact, and use open body language. These small actions can transform how others perceive you. They're not just gestures, they're declarations of your confidence and value. Another aspect of commanding respect is being mindful of how you communicate. Words are important, but so is tone and delivery. When you speak, do so with clarity and purpose. Avoid mumbling or speaking too softly, as it can undermine your message. At the same time, avoid being overly aggressive or confrontational, as this can come across as insecurity disguised as confidence. The goal is to strike a balance. Be assertive but respectful. For example, during a team meeting at work, one of my colleagues was presenting an idea. Midway through, someone interrupted with a dismissive comment. Instead of getting flustered, my colleague paused, made direct eye contact with the interrupter, and calmly said, "I'd like to finish my point first, and then we can discuss your perspective." The room fell silent, and the interrupter nodded, allowing her to continue. This simple, composed response not only diffused the tension, but also earned her respect from everyone in the room. This brings us to an important lesson. How you handle interruptions says a lot about you. It's natural to feel frustrated when someone cuts you off or dismisses your ideas, but reacting emotionally can often make the situation worse. Instead, take a deep breath, maintain your composure, and use calm but firm language to assert your right to speak. Phrases like, "Let me finish my point," or "I'd like to come back to what I was saying," can help you regain control of the conversation without escalating the conflict. You can't control what others do, but you can control how you respond. This is especially true in situations where someone tries to undermine you. Your calmness and confidence are your greatest tools. By staying composed, you not only maintain your dignity, but also send a clear message that you won't tolerate disrespect. Think about the impact this can have in your everyday interactions. Whether it's a colleague interrupting you at work, a friend making a sarcastic comment, or even a stranger being rude, your ability to stay calm and composed can change the dynamic. People are more likely to respect someone who handles challenges with grace and self-assurance. It shows strength, not the kind that comes from dominating others, but the kind that comes from being in control of yourself. Let's talk about interruptions. Imagine this. You're in a meeting, confidently presenting an idea you've worked hard on, and someone cuts you off mid-sentence. It's not just frustrating, it can feel like an attack on your credibility. Your natural reaction might be to get defensive or raise your voice to reclaim attention. But here's the thing. Reacting emotionally often gives away your power. Instead, you can handle this situation with calm confidence, which will not only restore order, but also establish your authority. One powerful technique to handle interruptions is the steady gaze. When someone interrupts you, don't rush to speak over them or react immediately. Instead, pause and fix them with a calm, focused look. This non-verbal response is incredibly effective. It sends a message that their behavior is inappropriate without you needing to say a word. The silence, combined with your steady gaze, creates a moment of reflection for the interrupter. They'll likely realize they've overstepped and may even stop speaking on their own. Here's an example. During a family dinner, I was sharing a story when a relative interrupted me to share their own experience. At first, I felt annoyed, but instead of reacting, I stopped speaking, looked directly at them, and waited. The room grew quiet as everyone noticed the pause. Within seconds, my relative realized what had happened, apologized, and let me continue. The beauty of this approach is that it avoids conflict while still asserting your presence. The steady gaze works because it taps into a universal psychological principle. People tend to mirror the energy you project. If you respond to an interruption with frustration or anger, it can escalate the situation. But if you remain calm and composed, it encourages others to do the same. Control yourself, not others, and you'll often find that others adjust their behavior in response to your example. Once you've addressed the interruption, the next step is to resume your point with authority. A simple phrase like, "Let me pick up where I left off," or, "As I was saying earlier," signals that you're taking control of the conversation without being confrontational. It also reinforces the message that you value your voice and expect others to respect it. Another common challenge: public humiliation or mocking. Picture this. You're with a group of friends or colleagues and someone makes a joke at your expense. The laughter that follows might make you feel small, embarrassed, or even angry. But remember, how you respond in this moment can completely change the dynamic. One of the most effective ways to handle such situations is by using what I call the repeat the joke strategy. Instead of reacting emotionally, calmly ask the person to repeat their joke. For example, you can say, "I didn't quite catch that. Could you say it again?" Here's the magic. When someone has to repeat a joke, especially one meant to mock or humiliate, it loses its impact. The humor fades, and the awkwardness of the situation shifts back to the person who made the joke. I once saw this strategy play out during a casual outing with friends. One person in the group made a sarcastic remark about another's outfit, and everyone laughed. Instead of getting upset, the person calmly smiled and said, "What was that? I didn't hear you." The joker, now faced with the discomfort of repeating their comment, fumbled and quickly changed the subject. The group's laughter died down, and the situation diffused without any confrontation. This approach is powerful because it maintains your composure while subtly holding the other person accountable for their words. It shows that you're unshaken by small provocations and that you're confident enough to let the situation speak for itself. More importantly, it reinforces a key principle of Stoicism: what doesn't harm your essence isn't worth your concern. By choosing not to let a joke define your emotions, you demonstrate inner strength and self-respect. Another strategy to diffuse humiliation is to redirect the conversation. For instance, if someone mocks you, you can respond with a neutral or unrelated question that shifts the focus away from the insult. Imagine someone makes a pointed remark about your work in front of others. Instead of reacting defensively, you might say, "That's interesting. What do you think about the project timeline?" This tactic accomplishes two things. It avoids escalating the situation and subtly signals that their comment isn't worth your attention. Redirection works because it breaks the flow of negativity. When someone tries to provoke or embarrass you, they often expect a specific reaction, whether it's anger, defensiveness, or silence. By responding in an unexpected way, you take control of the situation and steer it toward a more positive direction. It's a reminder that you're in charge of your own narrative. Now let's address a deeper issue: provocation. There are times when someone isn't just making a casual joke, they're deliberately trying to get under your skin. This could happen at a family gathering, in the workplace, or even among friends. The goal of the provocation is often to elicit an emotional reaction, which gives the instigator a sense of power or control. One effective way to handle provocation is by asking an unrelated question. For example, if someone makes a critical remark about you, pause for a moment and then ask something like, "Does anyone know a good restaurant nearby?" Or, "What's the weather supposed to be like tomorrow?" This tactic is disarming because it completely shifts the tone and focus of the conversation. The person who tried to provoke you is left flustered, and the attention of the group moves to the new topic. I remember a time when a colleague made a snide comment about a mistake I had made on a project. Instead of defending myself or arguing, I simply said, "By the way, did anyone catch the game last night?" The unexpected shift in conversation caught everyone off guard, and the tension dissolved. The instigator didn't get the reaction they were looking for, and I was able to maintain my composure. This strategy aligns perfectly with Stoic philosophy. As Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By choosing to redirect a provocative situation, you reclaim control over your emotions and the dynamic of the interaction. It's a reminder that you're not at the mercy of others' behavior. You have the power to steer the situation in a way that protects your peace of mind. To sum up, handling interruptions, humiliation, and provocation requires a mix of calmness, confidence, and strategic thinking. Whether it's using the steady gaze to address interruptions, the repeat the joke strategy to diffuse mockery, or the unrelated question tactic to redirect provocation, these techniques empower you to stay in control. They're not just about avoiding conflict, they're about asserting your self-worth and showing others that you're someone who commands respect. These tools, grounded in Stoic principles, can transform how you navigate challenging situations and elevate the respect you receive from those around you. Building on the strategies we've covered, let's now focus on the broader concept of maintaining emotional control and creating an environment where respect becomes a natural outcome of how you carry yourself. This is not about demanding respect, but cultivating it through consistent actions, mindset, and behaviors that set a clear standard for how you expect to be treated. One of the most effective ways to command respect is by mastering your emotions, especially in situations where someone tries to provoke or hurt you. Imagine this scenario. You're at a family gathering and someone makes a cutting remark about a personal failure or sensitive topic in front of everyone. The natural instinct might be to defend yourself or explain why the comment was unfair. But often, this reaction gives the instigator what they want, an emotional response that puts you on the defensive. Instead, you can use what I call the unrelated question technique. When someone aims to provoke you, take a brief pause, maintain a calm demeanor, and ask an unrelated question. For example, if someone comments on your career, you might say, "By the way, does anyone know a good bakery around here?" Or, "I was thinking of picking up some desserts for the next gathering. Any suggestions?" This shift in focus catches the provocateur off guard and changes the energy of the room. The spotlight moves away from the negative comment, leaving the instigator with no choice but to adapt to the new topic. This technique works because it disrupts the cycle of negativity. Provocation relies on a specific pattern. The instigator says something hurtful, you react emotionally, and they gain a sense of control. By refusing to engage in this pattern, you not only protect your peace of mind, but also demonstrate strength and self-assurance. It's a powerful reminder that you're in control of how the situation unfolds. Let me share a personal example. During a team meeting, a colleague made a sarcastic remark about a suggestion I had just proposed. Instead of reacting or defending my idea, I paused, smiled, and said, "That's interesting. Do you have any ideas on how we can make this better?" The unexpected shift from sarcasm to collaboration caught them off guard. They hesitated for a moment, then offered a constructive suggestion. Not only did this diffuse the tension, but it also shifted the focus back to the work at hand. More importantly, it sent a clear message. I value constructive input, not negativity. This approach is rooted in Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes focusing on what you can control. You can't always stop people from making hurtful comments, but you can control your reaction. By staying calm and redirecting the conversation, you maintain your dignity and authority. Over time, this consistent behavior sets a standard for how others interact with you. Another key element of emotional control is understanding the power of silence. Silence isn't just the absence of words. It's a tool that can convey confidence, composure, and authority. When someone says something disrespectful, your first instinct might be to respond immediately. But taking a moment of silence before speaking can have a profound impact. It shows that you're not reacting impulsively and that you're in full control of your emotions. For example, imagine someone at work dismisses your contribution in a meeting. Instead of jumping in to defend yourself, you take a moment, let the silence settle, and then calmly say, "I'd like to revisit my point because I think it adds value to our discussion." The pause not only gives you time to gather your thoughts, but also forces others to reflect on the dynamic of the conversation. It subtly shifts the power back to you, making it clear that you won't be overlooked. Silence also works in social situations. If someone makes a joke at your expense, a well-timed pause and a steady gaze can speak louder than words. It creates a moment of discomfort for the joker, highlighting the inappropriateness of their comment without you having to say anything. This is another example of how Stoic principles, control over your emotions and reactions, can be applied in everyday interactions. Now, let's talk about another powerful strategy: setting boundaries. Respect is closely tied to boundaries because they define what behavior you will and won't accept. If you don't set clear boundaries, people may unknowingly or intentionally cross them, leaving you feeling disrespected or undervalued. On the other hand, when you communicate your boundaries assertively and consistently, you teach others how to treat you. Setting boundaries doesn't have to be confrontational. It can be as simple as saying, "I'd appreciate it if we could keep this conversation constructive," or "I'd prefer if we focus on solutions rather than criticisms." These statements are direct yet respectful, making it clear what you expect without escalating the situation. They also show that you value your time, energy, and emotional well-being, which naturally commands respect. For instance, I had a colleague who often interrupted me during meetings. After it happened several times, I decided to address it calmly but firmly. The next time they interrupted, I said, "I'd like to finish my point first, and then I'd be happy to hear your thoughts." This simple boundary-setting statement not only stopped the interruptions, but also improved our working relationship. It showed that I valued my voice and expected others to do the same. Boundaries are not just about what you say, they're also about what you do. If someone consistently disrespects your boundaries, it's important to follow through with actions. For example, if a friend repeatedly makes hurtful comments despite you expressing your discomfort, you might choose to limit your interactions with them. This isn't about punishing them. It's about prioritizing your self-respect and emotional health. As Stoic philosophy teaches, your peace of mind is worth more than trying to change someone else's behavior. Another way to cultivate respect is by demonstrating consistency. People respect those who are reliable and true to their word. Whether it's meeting deadlines, keeping promises, or simply showing up when you say you will, consistency builds trust and credibility. It shows that you're someone who takes themselves and their commitments seriously. Consistency also applies to how you handle challenges. If you respond to disrespect with calm confidence every time, people will begin to see you as someone who doesn't waver under pressure. This steady demeanor earns respect because it reflects inner strength and self-assurance. It also creates a sense of predictability in how others interact with you, reducing the likelihood of negative behavior. To wrap up this section, emotional control, silence, boundary setting, and consistency are all powerful tools for commanding respect. These strategies, rooted in Stoic principles, empower you to navigate challenging situations with grace and confidence. They show that respect isn't about dominating others. It's about valuing yourself and demonstrating that value through your actions. When you practice these behaviors consistently, You create an environment where respect becomes the natural response to your presence. How to respond to public humiliation effectively. Imagine being in a group setting where someone decides to mock you, perhaps by bringing up an embarrassing story or making a pointed comment. Your immediate reaction might be to defend yourself, make a snappy comeback, or show visible frustration. However, these responses often play into the hands of the person trying to embarrass you. Instead, you can use a calm and composed approach to take control of the situation and subtly shift the dynamic in your favor. One powerful strategy for diffusing public humiliation is to neutralize the energy of the joke. When someone mocks you, they rely on the group's reaction to validate their behavior. If you remove that validation, their attempt at humor falls flat. For example, if someone tells an embarrassing story about you, smile and ask, "Could you repeat that?" "I didn't quite hear it." This approach forces the person to recount the joke, and in most cases, it loses its punch the second time around. The group's laughter fades, and the attention shifts away from you to the awkwardness of the situation. This tactic is effective because it allows you to maintain your composure and dignity without escalating the conflict. It also subtly highlights the inappropriateness of the other person's behavior, encouraging them to think twice before attempting to humiliate you again. More importantly, it shows the group that you're not easily shaken, which earns you their respect. Another way to handle such situations is by using humor to redirect the conversation. For instance, if someone makes a sarcastic comment about you, you could respond with a light-hearted remark that shifts the focus. Imagine someone says, "Wow, you really messed up that project." Instead of getting defensive, you could say, "Well, at least I didn't burn the office coffee pot like last week." This kind of response diffuses the negativity and shows that you're confident enough to laugh at yourself, which can disarm the person trying to put you down. Humor is a powerful tool because it allows you to stay in control of the interaction without appearing confrontational. It also sends a message that you're secure in yourself and don't take petty remarks to heart. This aligns with a core Stoic principle. Don't let external events disturb your inner peace. By choosing to respond with humor, you protect your emotional well-being while commanding respect through your composure. Now let's address another common challenge: dealing with people who consistently try to undermine you in subtle ways. This might happen in professional settings where a colleague downplays your contributions or takes credit for your ideas. It can also occur in personal relationships where someone constantly criticizes or dismisses your opinions. In these situations, it's important to assert yourself calmly and confidently. One way to handle this is by asking direct but non-confrontational questions. For example, if a colleague dismisses your idea in a meeting, you could say, "Could you explain why you think this approach wouldn't work? I'd like to understand your perspective." This question forces the person to elaborate on their criticism, which often reveals its lack of substance. It also shows the group that you're open to constructive feedback, reinforcing your credibility. If someone takes credit for your idea, you can assert yourself by gently reminding the group of your contribution. For instance, you could say, "I'm glad you found my suggestion useful. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we can build on it." This response acknowledges the situation without creating unnecessary conflict, while also reaffirming your role in the discussion. The key to handling undermining behavior is to stay focused on the issue rather than the person. Avoid personal attacks or emotional reactions, as they can escalate the situation and make you appear unprofessional. Instead, address the behavior with calmness and clarity, demonstrating that you're confident in your value and won't allow others to diminish it. Another important aspect of commanding respect is learning when to walk away. There are times when no amount of calmness, humor, or assertiveness can change someone's behavior. In such cases, staying in the situation may only drain your energy and compromise your self-worth. Walking away isn't a sign of weakness. It's a powerful declaration of your value. Let me share a story about a friend who worked in a toxic environment. Her manager constantly dismissed her ideas, criticized her work unfairly, and undermined her in front of colleagues. At first, she tried harder, thinking she needed to prove herself. But after months of frustration, she realized that no matter how hard she worked, her manager's behavior wouldn't change. So, she made a bold decision. During a meeting where her ideas were once again brushed aside, she calmly closed her notebook, stood up, and said, "I've decided to put my energy into a place where it will be valued." She walked out of the room and resigned later that day. A few months later, she joined a new company where her talents were recognized and celebrated. Her decision to walk away wasn't about running from the problem. It was about choosing to invest her time and energy in an environment that respected her. This story highlights an essential truth. Sometimes, the best way to command respect is to demand it by removing yourself from situations or relationships that undermine your worth. If you found these tips valuable, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more insights and strategies to help you grow, succeed, and thrive. Share this with someone who could use a confidence boost or a fresh perspective on commanding respect. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.